animal. So it is likely that Dilophosaurus was covered in feathers. That the idea that inspired this whole plot about the sick dinosaur is not well supported in dinosaur science. This is Sakamoto Talks Biology. I'm Manabu Sakamoto, lecturer in zoology. I'm also a paleontologist. My son read the book Jurassic Park. He seems to really like that book, so he just keeps rereading it over and over. I also read this book when I was 13. In fact, that was before the film came out. I read the book and it blew me away. And when I went to see the film, I absolutely loved it. Recently, my son's been pointing out some differences he's noticed between the book and the film. One example is the depiction of Dilophosaurus. In the film, Dilophosaurus is a small animal, maybe 2 to 3 meters long, hopping along, chirping away, and being seemingly harmless, until it extends its frills, hisses, and spits venom at the human character. In the book, Dilophosaurus is a larger animal, which is more accurate to the real Dilophosaurus. Dilophosaurus is a predatory dinosaur from the early Jurassic period. The fossil record of the early Jurassic is relatively poor compared to later stages. This makes Dilophosaurus perhaps the most famous dinosaur of that time period. Dilophosaurus is a fairly large animal, about 7 meters long. The most distinguishing feature of the Dilophosaurus is a pair of crests that run along the top of its head, had a bit of a V-like shape at the front. And this crest was made out of thin sheets of bone, but we don't really know what it was used for. In terms of its appearance, now we know that many predatory dinosaurs were covered in feathers, but we don't really have any direct evidence of feathers for Dilophosaurus. However, we do have indirect evidence. There is a fossil of a print left behind by a Dilophosaurus which was sitting down. This fossil shows traces of feathery integuments along the belly of the animal. So it is likely that Dilophosaurus was covered in feathers. Another feature of Dilophosaurus from the film is that it has these large frills. But in the fossil record, we don't really have any evidence for it. Another example is the sick Triceratops. In the movie, it's not really explained why the Triceratops is sick, and they leave it as a mystery. In the book, the sick dinosaur is not a Triceratops, but another herbivorous dinosaur, the Stegosaurus. The vet did explain that there are poisonous berries on the island, but he knows the animals don't eat them. In the book, we find out that the Stegosaurus is actually eating the berries, but not from the plants, but from the ground when it accidentally swallowing it alongside the stones that it's picking up. So we actually find out why it's sick in the book. Although paleontologists used to believe that herbivorous dinosaurs like sauropods had gizzard stones, a paper in 2007 argued against this idea. In this paper, they focused on studying the amount of gizzard stones in ostriches and compared that to the amount of gizzard stones in sauropod dinosaurs. They found that the amount of gizzard stones in sauropod dinosaurs was actually too small for them to aid in digestion. And now, because of this, paleontologists don't really believe that gizzard stones were used in herbivorous dinosaurs, at least in sauropod dinosaurs. Now, going back to the book Jurassic Park, we can say now that the idea that inspired this whole plot about the sick dinosaur is not well supported in dinosaur science. So these were two examples of differences from the book and the movie that my son and I discussed recently. An additional interesting thing is that in both the book and the movie, there's quite a lot of emphasis on amphibian traits observed in the dinosaurs. And of course, this includes the dinosaurs changing gender that allows them to lay eggs. There's that really exciting scene with the Tyrannosaurus Rex only really being able to hunt moving human prey. And in the novel, this is really hinted strongly that it's an amphibian trait. However, in paleontology, we actually have very strong evidence that dinosaurs, and in particular Tyrannosaurus Rex, could see really well. And so all that story about dinosaurs not being able to see anything that unless they moved is pure fiction. Dinosaurs are really popular in media, and it's always fun to discuss what's real science and what's fiction. And I really enjoyed discussing this with my son.